joining us.
Oh, StreamYard. Okay, we'll find it in a minute. I thought they fixed this, and there it still is. Sorry, guys.
Hello, Louise.
Hello, Antoinette. Like, it's technology, really. Now I've got to find it. It's
Oh, well,
supposed
at
to
least
be
we got a
mobile
nice man to look at.
Oh, yeah. So,
Oh, there we go. Hello.
hello, and hello, everyone, because we're back on a trauma subject, because it's still so prevalent in our lives, isn't it?
Yeah, more than ever, hey? Sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it's going to die down very soon. So best we start learning how to deal with this.
Yeah, maybe it's a gift to us that we've got so much upheaval in our lives that everything is amplified, because we can't see it when things are every day is the same. This is the blessing of it, because when things are in routine, we tend to just go about our routine unconsciously. So I think a lot of us are being shaken up and becoming a little bit more present in what's going on, because the pressure is really on. You know, the pressure is, and I also think the reality of the situation is hitting home, and for everybody who's been holding their breath and thinking it's going to be over soon, you know, we all have to adjust to a whole new reality now. So I think it's a bit much, and when our personal stuff comes into it, and a lot of people are at breaking point.
Yeah, but that's also where the opportunity lies, from my past experience. So I think we're being cracked open because we haven't been living well, and I think suppressed trauma is one of the reasons. So a lot of PTSD is running the show out there.
Yeah, but you see, we've got to go. I mean, this whole cracked open, and so many people in trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder has to be seen in context. So let's roll back a little bit and just put everything a little bit in perspective for everyone, and we'll talk about it. So it's unavoidable for us, if we are coming from parents who had any kind of trauma, when, you know, any time of those 9 months, any time during birth, but in that 9 months, if your parents have been in high stress situations, your mother's cortisol levels are spiking, and that cortisol is running through your body. Tiny little baby, you can do nothing about it. And that has now been proven to prime you for post-traumatic stress disorder, low-grade post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, overvigilance for the rest of your life. Even if your mother just had it for a short time and was fine after that, before you were born, that cortisol is going to already prime you. Then we get into life, and life is not perfect. And sometimes it's small things that happen to us, and sometimes it's huge things that happens to us. Sometimes we're aware of a trauma, sometimes we suppress it. Sometimes we know something is wrong, but we don't actually know what it is. Sometimes we just know we don't fit into the world, and sometimes it's in our behaviors, the symptoms, the hypervigilance, the needing to control outcomes, needing to feel safe, needing other people to fix us, needing to fix other people. All those behaviors are showing that we are walking around with some sort of trauma, even if we can't remember it. So that's adult child syndrome, when we have had some sort of trauma, we didn't work through it, we turned into little adults, and we are still walking around with our unresolved childhood griefs. and making do and just minimizing our traumatic experiences. So that's one side of it. The other side is if you're fairly okay, you've managed, and now you end up in a relationship, and the relationship typically codependent, having a lot of hamster wheel relationships, fights. So those ones, that you absolutely fight about everything, but it really is nothing. And then you fight about the same things over and over and over, and you have the same kind of abusive patterns. And the abusive patterns is where judgment, blame, innocence, getting personal, attacking people, calling them names, demeaning other people, or what's insidious is if that kind of near violent reaction doesn't happen. I'm not talking about violence here. I'm just talking about people being violent with their words. Then the other thing, which is as hard, is when people guilt you. And you are in a constant state of being guilted, feeling shame, feeling like you don't live up to somebody's expectations, always fearing that you're not good enough for somebody, always fearing that you're going to be left. That is a whole other way of experiencing abandonment trauma over and over and over again. So if you are in that kind of messy relationship, then you suffer from a different kind of post-traumatic stress disorder. It's relational traumatic stress syndrome. And that is from long-term relationships, which have these even verbally or very subtle abusive patterns and lots of reactions about abandonment coming into play, lots of anxiety, lots of self-blame, lots of unfulfillment and feeling alone. And like you are really responsible to fix a lot of stuff. So if we already have this low-grade post-traumatic stress disorder because we are adult children, because we've been born into a situation that's not optimal, or because we've taken some lessons from our life and we have applied them, even if it wasn't intended that way, as we are not enough and we'll never be enough and we are not wanted, we're not loved, we're not lovable, then we have to be an adult, take care of ourselves, take care of our adults, take care of our siblings, then we will have low-grade post-traumatic stress disorder, and we all know that thing. This is the thing. We all know that scanning when you walk into a room. Every single adult child understands that. Scan the room subconsciously when you walk into it, see if it's safe. Scan the people around you, see if they are safe, see if they are going to judge you. Be very careful about who you let into your life, who you let see your insides. You may be an extrovert and let the whole world in, but sharing those insides, what's really going inside you, not easily, not until you trust people. And then, so we're already there. And because we're adult children, we are very 80% of the world, 8 people around you, check it, you're probably one of them. 80 to 90% of the world have adult child pattern. And then you walk into a relationship, it becomes dysfunctional because of your adult child outlooks and behaviors, and the other person is the same. You get into a relationship with somebody else who is also an adult child, and then your relationship gets messier and messier and messier, and the post-traumatic stress disorder then shows its face as relational. And it's also a low-grade one, but it can become really bad. And then if something like, obviously, like abuse comes into it, then your stress levels, your disorder becomes so much worse, and you can lose enormous parts of yourself. That you eventually one day find out, who the heck am I? I don't even know who I am. I don't even understand how to function anymore. You can completely lose yourself in a relationship like that. So that's what we want to talk about. So if we are like that already, which a lot of us have experienced, or if you've had other traumas that's been unresolved, that you have never dealt with, then these effects of what we are going through currently can very possibly push us to a new level, because we're already primed for it, of feeling very helpless and very very out of sorts, very, because when you have post-traumatic stress disorder, you disassociate and you leave your body. So that's why I'm saying out of sorts. You sort of feel like you don't have control over anything. You can't access your emotions. You're very unsure about what next to do. Now, all of us will feel like this, but if you already are primed for post-traumatic stress disorder, or you already have it and it's not been resolved, this is going to add extra layers to it.
So could that cause unspecified anxiety and kind of unfocused fear, which is what I had most of my life up until I started this inner work, and I still have some unspecified anxiety. Mostly now I can attach it to a fear of fucking up anxiety, actually. But before cancer, sorry, there's two topics here, but my question is, before cancer, I so often had a grinding fear, even when I was on holiday, and an unspecified anxiety. And after you've said what you've said now, I realized I pulled that into my relationships and my business and my work. And so everything becomes that. And I was a highly functional person on the exterior, but I think I ended up with cancer for a number of reasons, because of that, but also because of suppressed emotions and just unprocessed trauma. So yeah, there's many questions I'm raising here. I mean, can autoimmune diseases and diabetes and even cancer be caused by this unprocessed trauma, Louise?
Okay, but it's two questions here. So the first one is about the anxiety. Absolutely, this is what causes that anxiety without a name. That it is this thing that you've been walking around with for such a long time, and you do not understand that the anxiety is not about you. It could simply be your mother's anxiety at the time when you were before you were born. It could just simply be her cortisol levels that have spiked you into a constant hypervigilance, because anxiety is hypervigilance. There's a hypervigilant element of anxiety where if you can switch over hypervigilance, then you can access the rational part of your brain, and the rational part of your brain can switch over anxiety. So those two goes together. So you really want to look at anxiety, and a lot of people. I mean, if you go Google anxiety, it's one of the things. It's one of the highest searched keyboard words out there, because so many people struggle with anxiety, and social anxiety. Also, so many of us have it, and you can switch it off. First of all, understanding where it's coming from makes it accessible to us. It doesn't make us the scary animal anymore. It's just understanding where it's coming from, and then putting a few practices into place. So calming the monkey mind, and doing things like training yourself out of a bad habit to be worried about the day of tomorrow always, or having, because a lot of anxiety is about what will happen tomorrow. And that one is more connected to not having trust in yourself, but not trusting yourself to be able to handle tomorrow. What will happen if this one leaves me? What will happen if that one dies? What will happen? That's a subconscious talk. And it's because we don't have the confidence inside ourselves that we are the rock in our own river, and we will survive what we are able to survive today, because today we can survive everything, because we know if it happens right now, we are surviving it. But if we focus so much on the future and we get out of it now, then we are starting to build our anxiety. So that's a bad habit. That's just a bad habit. We need to snap out of it, and you don't just snap out of it. It's immensely hard work, because we have been having this fear about the future habit for a long, long time, but your mind is not in control of you. You decide what you want to do. So once you understand that when that feeling, because that feeling comes, the feeling is there before the head catches up. When a feeling comes, you can say to yourself, I am feeling bad right now because I'm allowing myself to go to the future, and I'm pulling myself back by asking myself, what can I do in the now? Which is incidentally the serenity prayer, which I keep on saying, hold on to the serenity prayer because it says to you, figure out what you have no control over. There's a lot we don't have control over. Decide what you do have control over, and then you decide what to do. Now, there's your cognitive mind is now engaged. So you are not using your amygdala, your reptile brain anymore. So the automatic responses are switched off. And when you ask yourself, what can I do in this moment? Because I don't have tomorrow anyways, I'm never going to have it. So let me figure out what can I do today. Then you switch over anxiety. And then there's a really important second step to take with us. And if you don't take the second step, the first one doesn't work. You have to then decide and do what you can do and then let go. I've done what I can do, and I'm going to now play on the beach or listen to my music or go work or do something else. If you keep on focusing on that thing which you have already actioned and done to the best of your ability, and you don't let go of the outcomes because you have zero control over outcomes, seriously, then you keep yourself in the anxiety state. So we're talking about the anxiety because it's so closely related to post-traumatic stress disorder. It's part of the anxiety, and the scanning goes like this. You get anxiety, and then you scan, and then you scan, and then you get anxiety from the scanning. So you also have to stop scanning. You have to decide that I'm not going to scan the room anymore. I have to trust that I am going to be okay. I'm going to trust that I'm going to be okay, even if somebody judges me. And there's language we can use for it. We can say, your judgment is just your opinion. I can let it jump in me if I want to or not. You can say, the only person whose opinion is important to me is mine, and I like myself and I trust myself. You can pep talk yourself through situations like that, so you can actually stop worrying about having anxiety, having fears about judgment and rejection and abandonment, because you start looking at it from the other side, not from what the other person will do to me, but where my own strengths are lying. So then you switch off that anxiety, you switch off that fear of judgment, the fear of abandonment. It's a very short way to rush through this, because I don't want to do the whole long thing. It's not that simple.
So you said something I wanted to just clarify. You said the feeling comes before the thought, which is always what's happened with me. But so many spiritual teachers, healers, coaches, self-help people say it's the thought creates the feeling. So I was interested that
they work together, but we don't. We are so determined to switch off what's going on in here. We are so absolutely determined to just look okay. And we are very much in a habit. That habit that we have, we've been doing it for a long, long time. So we have to find a place where we start feeling better so that we can notice we are feeling bad. And this thing here that comes and sits here, this is the cortisol reaction. I mean, when you're having a cortisol reaction, you know it, because it's a physiological reaction. There's nothing you can do to stop it until you figure it out, because you can actually stop it in just seconds once you figure out what you're doing. So when you have that reaction, you often don't know you're feeling bad, but if you carefully watch your body, it will do this. You won't even know that you feel judged at this moment. You feel abandoned. Your body will tell you first. And so I'm not disagreeing about the thoughts. Your thoughts create your reality. And your reality creates how you show up in the life. What you've created in your head will create how you show up in life, and the words that come out of your mouth and how you react to stuff. But it also works the other way around. How you react to stuff can train your mind how to think differently. So that's why I always give people exercises where they have to go do stuff which is alien to them, which is counter to their normal stuff, so that they can act their way into brain training.
That's very powerful. Yeah, I remember
And
some of those
very effective.
exercises.
That's why I love giving people strange homework.
Yeah, it makes the brain switch. Hey, do you believe that this unprocessed trauma or this low-grade stress can lead to like fibromyalgia? Some doctor actually told me recently that he believed that fibromyalgia was unprocessed trauma, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, look, we're now at a stage where all of these things are already proven. So there's a definite link to it, and it's really come to the fore. I think really in the last few years, the research has been done on that, and you're much bigger of an expert on psychoneuroimmunology, which is the connection between the unresolved trauma, what goes on inside us, our thought processes, our outlooks in life. But there's also, we are all very aware now. It's so recent that this research has been done, that we carry the trauma in us. We carry the trauma in us. Our bodies know about the traumas, even when our heads are refusing to acknowledge it, have no way of dealing with it, because we are still coming from our child perspective. We're still coming from a 7-year-old who is subconsciously running our life. A 7-year-old cannot process the trauma. It's impossible. You cannot say to a 7-year-old, process your trauma, now grow up and put on your big old panties. You can only learn through this whole, something like the adult child process, where you actually get tools and you start becoming present in your life, but you gain awareness. That's the only way in which you leave your trauma behind, because there's space to work through your trauma. There's space, there's support, and you process it and you let it go and you become free from it. And then it doesn't run your life.
And Louise, this message is of paramount importance now, because so many of teachings and psychologies and coaching out there, I'm afraid, just doesn't take this route. And I think what happened to me, things like absolutism become coping mechanisms, perfectionism, and those are the very things Bruce Lipton says absolutism causes cancer. Anita Majani said the same thing about her journey. So the coping mechanisms we develop to deal with the suppressed trauma can make us ill, as well as I had so many suppressed emotions. And I did a Facebook post today which said something like, either we heal or we get bitter when trauma hits us. And I think that unprocessed trauma, I had a lot of suppressed resentment, bitterness, and anger, which I never knew was there. Do you know, it took me nearly 2.5 years post-cancer to access those emotions. They were so suppressed. And there's no doubt that those suppressed emotions play a very big role in things like in cancer in particular.
I will go one step further. I will say that either we heal or we spend our time in victimhood. It's really important that we heal so that we can step into our power, because if we don't step into our power, we are actually in victimhood. There's very little in between. So it's really important, because victimhood is an immensely powerless place, and I will not be surprised if sooner or later somebody draws a parallel between being in victimhood and people getting cancer. I am completely convinced about it.
Well, I can already see the connection because if you're in victimhood, you're very likely to have some level of bitterness and resentment. Let's be honest, Louise, because if you're a victim, you may not know it because people find it very hard to access those emotions because they're very unfavored emotions. I mean, they're not lacquer, you know? So none of us wants to be resentful or bitter, but if we feel very victimized, it's going to be lurking there, I think.
Yeah, and resentment is unavoidable. If you feel victimized, resentment is unavoidable. It poisons our relationship. It poisons ourselves. And when you start understanding that, now, the problem is that we are entrenched in this outlook of somebody did something to me. And because we're not trained to notice how we have not stepped into our power, how we've let go of it in little chunks until we don't know who we are. We're not trained. We don't notice, and it happens little bit by little bit, and sometimes it happens so young that it's not available to you. But there's something else I want to say about absolutism, which because I just want to put it in a different way so that people can understand that if you have black and white thinking, or you're a perfectionist, which can be seen as, a perfectionist can be seen as somebody who's very particular and good where they work and conscientious, and there's a lot of positive connotations to it, and we can make sure that people notice those ones. So black and white thinking, my way over highway, and perfectionism are symptoms of us not having worked through traumas, and symptoms of us having huge fears of judgment, fear of abandonment, fear of not being good enough. And so these fears that are sitting behind all of this.
And do you think that overachieving, overworking, being over busy is also a symptom of it? Because then we don't have to stop to feel what we're feeling, or
anything you're addicted to, whether it's overworking or alcohol or sex addiction, or the person you are in a relationship with, because you can be addicted to a person, you can be addicted to victimhood. Sometimes it's like people faff over you for such a long time, and now you start feeling wonderful because you're getting attention, even although it is not attention that's empowering to you. It's a attention that keeps you in that place of, I'm the victim of a circumstance that happened to me. And that's addictive. So there's a lot of stuff which is addictive, and all the addictive behaviors that we have keeps us away from paying attention to ourselves, to our own patterns. Shall we look at a few comments? I see a few hearts there. Give us some more hearts, people. You know I like the hearts. That's what I like. Hi, Miranda. Nice to see you. Hi, Norma. Thank you so much for showing up. I need to put my glasses on properly. Hi, Sabina. Oh, nice that you could join us. Okay, let's see. I still have abandonment issues, even though I've had much therapy in this regard, but I'm aware of when these issues come up for me again, when I go for help again. Awareness is key. You're completely right. But I know that I have to accept that this will always be a part of me. No, my sweetheart, it doesn't have to be. You can really, really work for it. I promise you, I've been doing this work for a long time. My big thing was that my mother abandoned me. And you know what? I'm so all over it. You can work through it. I want to really tell you, promise you can work through it. This is all due to being in an orphanage for 2 years. Yeah, that sucks. Okay. Totally agree with everything being said. Thank you for that. But I actually really want to give you this hope, Sabina, that you can work through it. You really, really can work through it. I'm telling you, I'm absolute living proof. Being abandoned, feeling rejected, and especially by your mother, has the biggest impact on us. And it's very hard to let go of it. But you learn eventually by loving yourself, people loving yourself, self-acceptance, self-forgiveness, Self-care, love yourself. There's nothing more. We heal through self-love. I promise you. Just go for it. Go like jump in, all in. Love yourself. And
Easier said than done.
Yeah, but you know what? It's the
Sometimes.
stories in your head that's stopping you. You just have to, and look, it helps to be part of a community where people are all on the same journey, and it helps to keep on putting your attention where you want to go. If you want to go there, then you put your attention there, you start doing those things. That, I mean, I've got a long program about self-esteem, but I've taken it and I've condensed it into a chapter in my book. And if you want to know, just one chapter, it will take you an hour to work through it. But if you just start doing one thing a week, in 12, 13 weeks, your life has changed forever. And I know this because I've been running this program with people in real life. And I've been asking them, when they start, I'm asking, where is your self-esteem sitting? Where is it sitting? And it's like, there, down there, 2 or 3. And then we go through the program, and then and this is a 13-week program. And then we get to week 13, maybe it's 3 or 4 months we go through it. And then I ask, where's your self-esteem sitting? And it's like 60, 70% for most people. Some are a little bit higher. But I mean, how is that? 3 months of your life compared to feeling bad about yourself and not like you fit all the time and really struggling? Start with self-esteem, self-love, self-care, all the components of it. And you start filling yourself up. And the more you fill yourself up, the less space there is to have abandonment fears. They're powerful, they rule us, but they don't need to rule us forever. Hi, Mia. Nice to see you live. Okay. Oh, now I have to put my glasses on again. Let's see what I'm saying. Yeah, all unprocessed trauma will manifest. Oh, that's such wonderful news. Do you see that? And can you see it, Antoinette, or must I read it? Okay.
I can see it. Yeah, amazing. Okay. Savina's also written a book, by the way. Savina told me yesterday or the day before she's written a book about her journey, actually.
Oh, that's amazing. I'd love to know what the book is.
Savina, write the name of the book for us.
Hi, Tamara. Lovely to see you. I read the most amazing thing that Alex sent me today that you sent. And I thank you for that. I love what you said. I know it was private. I'm not going to repeat it. But I love what you said. It touched me deeply. Thank you for that. We all have to show up sometimes and just share what's in our hearts because somebody needs it. Hi, Linda. Loving oneself, taking better care of oneself has been the key. Yeah, absolute. Healing truly lies in acceptance of self without needing validation from another, especially the mother. Oh, yes, especially the mother. Wait, I've jumped to the bottom now. I need to go back to the top again. Hi, Jane. Nice to see you, Jane. Yeah, it's true, Miranda. Our brain wants safety. Our soul wants acceptance. Oh, that's so beautifully put, isn't it? We should make beautiful meme with that one. Our soul wants acceptance. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Let's have that as a thought for the day. Miranda, please send that. Oh, we'll see it. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it too. Yes. Fall in love. Love yourself. Everybody give yourself a hug. Give yourself a hug. It's the best thing.
That's the name of Savina. That's Savina's book.
Such a good book.
Falling in love with myself. We need to all read that book, Savina.
I don't know how to say your name. Emmer? Do you know? I don't know how to say this. Thank you. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for commenting. Commenting. We love it. And yeah, what a powerful realization. I'm so happy that if we can help anybody to see it. Because the day when somebody very gently said to me something about victimhood, thank you, Karen. I was like, what? I nearly died. I was like, what? It can't be me. And I stood rooted to the spot, and I reviewed the words that I've just said, and I wanted to crawl away into the earth. But it's been the most empowering thing that somebody was brave enough to say to me. And she said it very kindly. Sometimes we are so entrenched in victimhood that everything after that is very blurred. But that part got through, and it was such a blessing. It was absolute gift. And so whenever we become aware of it, we have the awareness so that we can change what we are doing.
Yeah. I think so often we don't know what we don't know. So when other people talk about it, we go, oh, okay. Yeah.
Hi, Robin.
Hello.
Oh, it's a big pleasure. Such a big pleasure. That's the hearts. We like the hearts, people. We just love the hearts. So all I want to say to you, okay, so I'm saying it right, I think. Emma, I think. I want to just tell you, just keep on hanging around, okay? And there's many videos that we've done in the past already. And today we keep on saying we want to talk about victimhood, but have we actually ever done one just on victimhood?
No. I put it on the list. We got a long list now.
Put it on that list. Because every Monday we go like, what are we talking about now? We know we've got millions of things to talk about, but what? And then we just go with what we feel is topical and needed right now, and then somehow it's right. Okay, so are we asking anybody have questions, anybody have comments, or anybody watch this afterwards, then keep on coming back. And we keep on coming back, and we will reply to all your comments. And if you have a specific question, please post it, and we'll do our best to answer it. Okay, anything else from you, Antoinette?
Maybe just a comment, and I don't usually talk about what's going on out there with COVID and stuff, but I just kind of been having these downloads recently that so much of this argument about having a vaccine or not having it, or does ivermectin work or not, I just think so much of that is smoke screening and deviating us from the real trauma, actually, maybe. And it's getting us all het up about things that we're all doing around. And actually, that's not the real stuff. Because if we're dealing with the suppressed trauma or the unresolved trauma, then whether we have a vaccine or don't have a vaccine, we will be able to deal with what comes our way, I believe. Because the more we heal our trauma and we heal from the inside out, the more we're in alignment with our highest self, our divine nature. And in that space, our intuition guides us and leads us. It tells us if we need to move because we're going to be unsafe from riots, or if we have a vaccine, it won't hurt us. I don't know. I mean, that's become a very strong belief system for me. So I'm very passionate about promoting what you do and this work, because that is the journey to centeredness, groundness, godliness, actually, the unraveling of these layers of trauma and conditioning. It's not always even drastic trauma, hey, Louise, it's just conditioning and socialization,
Yeah, but I mean, actually, most of us walk around with little and small traumas. We all have little traumas, and those are easier to work with, especially if we pay attention to them. And then what we talked about last time, I know you referred to a video somewhere, is that if you don't deal with the trauma right now, as soon as possible, then it becomes post-traumatic stress disorder. Then the brain stops working, there's no memory, you really struggle to feel that you're in your body because you are not in your body, and you feel windswept. And you want to work through the trauma before it sets in and become post-traumatic stress disorder. That's really important, that you acknowledge the trauma. Don't just man up and superwoman and make do. And very importantly, other people have gone through worse things than me. So what gives me the right? to feel trauma, because other people have gone through worse things. That's bullshit. Your trauma is your trauma. Deal with it, So get into it. Don't soak into it, but feel it and express it, and find safe people and write it out of you and work through it. Acknowledge it. Feel it. When you really feel it, it won't kill you. It's when you don't feel it.
And that's what. Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Louise, but that's what I think. What Hatumbra started posting stuff, and what I love about it is she's so authentic and vulnerable and sharing her real. And I think we all need that right now, because we can go around veneering and looking okay, but geez, you can't be okay at a time like this all the time. And if we can just start sharing, even if it's on social media, which is such a weird place to share things, but I don't even know her Tumblr, but I feel like I've known her my whole life, just because there's been that connection. So you've read something she's posted. So I think anybody that's opening up that kind of space, and we certainly have, I share a lot of my ugly because it's the reality of life, actually, and we don't have to hide from it anymore. We just have to work together to walk each other home to heal it, actually.
Yeah, I did a post on Sunday. I actually did it on Friday, but it went out in the Sunday email, or Saturday. A short one, a 10-minute one, about this divisiveness. And I like what you said earlier, Antoinette. You know what? If you're walking around with so many wounds and so many unresolved things, you have no way to trust your intuition. Your intuition is going to be a fear intuition. You cannot expand while you're walking around with all these unresolved griefs. If you want to expand and start trusting yourself, you have to work through your shit. You have to start sorting your shit, because it's keeping you from living wholeheartedly, and you cannot trust your instinctive reactions while you are being directed by a fearful, hurt little 7-year-old. So what more can I say? I think we need to just stop here, more or less, because that idea is just so powerful, but I don't want to carry on from it. You cannot be, you cannot be who you're always supposed to be. That's strong and powerful and authentic and trusting yourself. If you don't find a way to authentically let go of the past, and it's not like just superficially, those things don't bother me. It's like, I'm feeling this pain of rejection. I'm feeling unloved, like I felt unloved then. I'm sitting with this. I'm working through it. And getting out to the other side, and you're still there. And you're more there, because you're not holding back because of that fear anymore. I'm going to go quickly, just to read the last few comments, and then we're going to finish off. You can get it directly from me. You can get it on Amazon, but otherwise just private message me, and I'll courier you a copy. I've got them with me. We heal from the inside out. Yeah, not from the outside in. Right. Let me see you. Thank you, Robin. Thank you. It's a big, big pleasure. Okay, so we're going to end now. Right, and you know what I need to do at this stage? I have to go find my song. We don't do this without
Okay, good night.
We're going to do it with a song.
Louise.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Thanks for all those hearts. Make my heart happy, and much love
match
to
your
all
lips.
of you. Yes, give me a heart. Match my lipstick. And I want to say to all of you that I'm giving you a very, very big virtual hug, because I know times are really shitty out there. But we are community, and we are there, and just voicing what we feel, being real about it, and knowing there are other people going through this. That's big. But also, don't let divisive opinions cause division in us as human beings. We are human beings. We all have the same wants and needs, and let's be together with our judgment. So big love to all of you, and see you next time.
Good night.
No,